Here's what super important reviews. My name's Steve, and my finger table. Anyways, today I'll be going over the Sentinel Riobot Godzilla vs. Evangelion NERV Anti-G Weapon Prototype Unit-01 dude. This guy has way too much title for him. And he's also known as Shiryu, so we're just going to call him Shiryu for this video. But if you guys don't know what this is a Godzilla vs. Evangelion crossover, where this is supposed to be kind of like a Eva if it was designed like a Godzilla. Or maybe Mechagodzilla designed to look like an Eva. I don't know. It's complicated, but it looks cool. It's also, this particular figure was designed by the same gentleman that did the Metal Gears and Metal Gear Solid and the orbital frames in Zone of the Enders. Which I feel like this actually, having played with it a little bit, is definitely more Zone of the Endery than Metal Gear Solid. But anyways, we'll get into that in a little bit. And the main reason we picked up these figures because we just love these Godzilla vs. Evangelion crossovers. My wife was actually the one that purchased this bad boy here. So anyways, without further ado, for his packaging, sadly, you won't probably notice much of it wrong on here, but shortly before doing this review, I had a Slurpee, and it decided that it wanted to be all over this box, and it made me super sad. I cleaned it up as fast as I can. It's not the worst, but there's a couple little watermarks here and there. But anyways, other than that, you'll get the gist of what the box is supposed to look like. We have a nice image of the figure inside the packaging. On the front here are 16. I imagine that's the number for Riobot's. I'm not 100% certain because this is actually the first one I've ever owned. So I'm going to assume that's what that is. With the NERV G, a bunch of stuff I can't understand. Sentinel, Riobot, top of the packaging. More of the same we have on the front, but nice little Godzilla vs. Evangelion sticker on the side here. On the sides of the packaging, you got some NERV on both sides. On the back, if you guys can see it on here, which looks like you can, there's this nice impression on the back of this box, and it looks sweet. Like, this would be the way I would actually probably display it if I was going to be having the box on my shelf anyways. Like, this looks very cool and very stylized with the Godzilla vs. Evangelion. And then the sleeve can lift up. It's a little sticky still. To reveal the figure inside of the actual packaging. Which right here, you can see some of the water damage. And on the bottom here, like, the undersection definitely got the worst of it. And then it's got more of the NERV on the sides here as well. Tops are going to be the exact same because, again, just an empty sleeve. And on the back of the package, it just shows him in some dynamic poses and some Lego Mumbo Jumbo. So let's get him open up out of his cardboard prison. And so then we got Shiryu open up out of his cardboard prison. Yes, I'm going to call him a he. I know majority of the Evas are female, but it's Godzilla related. So I imagine if it was like Godzilla DNA, it's probably he for the most part. Like, Biollante is the exception. I'm just going to call it a he. Cool. But anyways, we're going to go over his accessories, starting with his display stand, which is pretty much the majority of the weight that you had inside the package. Like, this thing is a giant chunk of plastic, if I do say so. But it's just matte black with a little bit of translucent plastic on the center here with some grip patterns here. But for the most part, it kind of replicates a like docking bay plate for the most part. Pretty cool. The only thing is this plastic is really easy to scuff. Like, I've already tried displaying them on here, and I got a couple of scratches already on it. Like, there's a scuff up there. So just make sure to be a little bit careful when you're setting down your kaijus on top of this thing, because it is a pretty matte finish plastic. So it's a little bit more prone to scuffing, but still, it's a really cool looking base though. And then you also get a articulated stand, just like you see with most of the Figmas. And same with the SH Figure Arts, has a little peg on the top here. You can also peg it in onto the sides here as well if you wanted to. Gives you a little bit more variety. And I also think this guy comes out here. Feels like it does. Hold on a second. And you can display this on any side that you really wanted to. It doesn't really change anything for the most part, but again, gives you more options, so you can have it set up over here if you wanted to. On the undersection of his crotch, you can remove this plate here and it'll reveal a peg hole. Problem is it is a pain in the butt to try to get this thing to actually lift up, especially since I don't have nails. One little trick you could do is actually rotate it and then remove it, and it comes out pretty easily. Doesn't appear to scuff anything, which is really nice. And then I'm actually going to insert this in here before I put him on the stand. But it just goes right into the peg hole here. Then you just take your display stand, attach him onto it, and then you're just going to bring the arm down in order to get him to stand on top of it. And then there you go. You got Shiryu on the stand. Holds him in very nicely, especially if you want to get him into more aerial poses, which for the most part is really doable with this, because Shiryu is actually a pretty light figure because he has no die cast in him at all. So if you want, you can pose him in some aerials, and also you can tighten the arms a little bit here too. Just takes a small Phillips head screwdriver. Just make sure that don't go too crazy because you don't want to crack the plastic, but you can apply a little bit more pressure if you want it to hold its pose a little better. But the nice thing is he does pose pretty well without it though. As you can see here, with the tail support, he stands on here pretty securely. And then if you want to have him upright, it's a little bit more of a balancing act. And if you want to have him in more of like the traditional Zilla pose, like the 98 Godzilla, that's where I would recommend having him on a stand if you want to have him on a display case. Unless you have it somewhere where it's going to be very secure. Because he stands up pretty well right now, but as you can see, a little bit of movement is definitely going to knock him over. So, if you're going to have him pose like this, definitely recommend using the stand. And then for his next accessory, he comes with a pair of anti-kaiju blades, which are actually really cool. Kind of a nice little homage to the Evangelion units, because they'll have these little metal plates on the under sections of their forearms. But with this, it actually extends out to have a blade, so you can have him cutting up some other kaijus anti-style. But they're done very nicely in this gunmetal, slightly metallic finish with a little bit of a dark blue purple hue towards the tip of the blade. Overall, really happy with this little accessory. And then how you get it onto our Shiryu is right here on the intersections of the forearms. There's plates that are articulated. You'll see them on both sides. And then you just slot the blade over top. There's two little pieces of plastic that stick out a little bit more on the undersection of the blade. You're just going to want to line it up with these two little slots here. So you just slide it over top. You'll feel it lock into place. And then it's also reversible. So you can have it in the forward position. Or if you want. Again, I have a super friendly fly down here. If you guys haven't seen Super, he won't leave me alone. Anyways, the blade is also reversible. He likes to hang out with my lighting. So you can also have it backwards as well. So it gives you a lot of variety to display with your Shiryu. And personally, I like the back position a little bit better. It just reminds me a lot more of Guyver, so I just kind of like that look a little bit better. One thing I will point out though, mine is one of these is definitely a lot looser than the other when attaching to the blades here. It holds it decently, but with any kind of movement, it's going to want to pop out. So I'm definitely going to have to make an adjustment there. What it seems to me is just the plastic, when they glued it, it wasn't quite put together, because you'll see there's a little bit of a gap there. Nothing major, but just something I want to bring up to you guys. Then for his hands, he comes with two sets, which standard on the body are his more action hands, or slightly clenching hands, which are what I'm going to be primarily displaying them with, because these are definitely better for action, while his other ones are definitely more relaxed. One thing I want to point out though in terms of detail is they actually have the little nubs that you generally see on the Evangelion units, where you see the gunmetal for these knuckles and then the orange one here, which is really cool to see that like small minute attention to detail on this guy. Really awesome. And how you attach it to our Shiryu, just like with any other figure arts, Figma, Ultra Action, name it, it just you're gonna want to pull the hand straight up from the forearm. It's just on a ball joint, really simple. Just pull it out, grab the corresponding hand. Want to line up the ball joint so that you can push it straight into the forearm, because you don't want it bending in a weird direction in order to snap the ball joint on you. So just make sure it's straight, And just like that, it likes to move. You're just going to want to line it up and attempt to go in straight. There we go. And this hand's just going to be more for just standing around like he's in a docking bay or just in more stagnant poses. While this hand is going to be definitely better for the kaiju combat scenes you'll be doing on your displays. And then finally, if you want him to look more Mechagodzilla, he also comes with a silver tail. Because on this figure, it comes with a green transitioning into a dark, almost black color. Which, this is definitely more Evangelion looking. And I do like this tail a little bit better for our Shiryu. While this one gives it a little bit more of a traditional look, and it actually shrinks the size of the tail a bit. And how you swap them out is it's actually on a ball joint on the end, so you're just going to want to pull straight out from the tail. And then comes off pretty easy. You can see there, a little bit of a ball joint. You're just going to line it up with that little joint hole there. Then you just push straight into the tail. Probably want to hold it from the underneath because these bad boys are a little bit sharp and feel a little bit fragile. So when going in, just going to make sure to go straight into the tail. Then once you hear a little bit of a pop, got it onto our Shiryu, and it's cool. I don't mind the look of this tail, and it definitely is more fitting. But with the color scheme for this kaiju, I think the green one's just a little bit more appropriate. And then for a closer look at Shiryu's details, the head sculpt is gorgeous. Well, you know what? Just the sculpt in general is just phenomenal for this figure. Especially for just being its own standard custom mold. They knocked it out of the park. Like, there's only, in terms of it being an Evangelion, there is one small design choice I would have changed. But outside of that, yeah, like starting with the head, looks great. Definitely very Zilla. Just in general, he definitely reminds me a lot more of the 98 Godzilla, more so than your standard Showa Heisei or Millennium Zilla. Because he's definitely a lot more lean, more profile, and even like the pose that they show on the packaging, it's just definitely more of a dinosaur profile, which leans more towards Zilla for me. But yeah, also the head is definitely very Zone of the Endery. Well, this is where it definitely shows up on this figure because sadly, it's definitely, the head looks very similar to what you get with like Anubis or Jehute, but it also reminds me of like Jehute's cockpit, which was the crotch piece. So Zilla's got a crotch face. But anyways, I do love the gunmetal on the top of the forehead here. He has very nice, almost baby blue eyes, a little bit of neon green spread it off through the cheek joints. Lower jaw is metallic silver. You can open it up to reveal a little bit of black there, which is kind of giving it more of a teeth shape. Though I actually would have liked to have seen some kind of molded teeth. Would have been really cool to see, but for the most part, still works really well. And that fly needs to go. For the rest of the neck here, got some more metallic platings here with a little bit of orange here on the sides of the neck. Then you have his dorsal spines starting to form here, which I do like that on the back of his head, they kind of shoot backwards and then start folding upwards as you get farther down the spines. It's really cool looking, especially when you get back here where it just looks like jagged pieces of metal. Like, I love that design. You even got like little vent cuts on the top sections of the dorsal spines. And that, like, they've even got a little bit of like a purple frosted tips on the end. Really neat, and it helps to kind of give it more of that Evangelion accentuation. For the, I guess we'll start with the shoulder here because you actually have the NERV symbol here. Which, one thing I kind of maybe would have wished they would have done was maybe actually had the NERV symbol with the Godzilla logo, the dorsal spines here like you've seen on some of the promotional material. That would have been really sweet. I don't know if they could have. I think that would have just looked really nice on here and really helped to give it more of that Godzilla crossover feel. And also with the shoulders is the one part where I feel like is a little bit of a fail on the design is where are the shoulder pads? It's an Evangelion unit. I feel like there needs to be something on the top section here. Okay, like, even something like Kiryu where it could have had, like, the shoulder cannons or something. Where, like, the shoulder pads could have, like, turned down or something. That would have been really cool, but it just feels like, that is, like, a key Evangelion trademark for the units. And he's just, slightly missing that. Like, for the most part, it's mainly coloring is what reminds me more of an Evangelion unit than the actual style. Outside of it having very slender features, which you generally wouldn't see on a Mechagodzilla unit. And moving down to the chest here, where you have these little plates here for the chest section here, and then this small little plate here for the front of the stomach. You even got some little detailing on the front section here. Like, again, minute details that you generally won't see in a lot of figures, and they just kind of incorporated it onto this unit. Because there's even a little bit of writing on the top sections of the thighs, and it just really helps to give it something that I generally don't see outside of like the more expensive Gundam models. And then for his arms, got a little bit more of that neon green, a tiny little plate here from the intersection of the forearm, which is generally something you see on a lot of the Evangelion units, and doesn't look that bad if you don't have the blades on it, but I definitely going to be posing mine with the Kaiju blades. And then again for the hands with the little nubs here, love that small attention to detail. Moving down to the legs, definitely more of a dinosaur profile, again lending more to the Zilla look than the actual Godzilla. But still really cool. Actually makes it seem like it'd be a lot more of a faster mech than pretty much any of the other Mechagodzillas we've gotten. But the detailing on there is really nice as well. Got some more neon green here for the front sections here. And then a little bit of a plating. And then a little bit of extra little spine sticking out on the back of the calf here. And then for his toes, only has 3 claws with some more neon green, a little bit of orange there. And this giant plate on the back section here, which helps to give it a little bit more balance. And then, yeah, that's pretty much it. With the back section of the tail, definitely remind me a lot of Kiryu. Or even Mechagodzilla, the 74 version, the Showa Mechagodzilla. Not quite as much as Stumpy Tails 93. But still really awesome. And then for its articulation, one thing I'm going to actually start with is the dorsal spines. Because you never see a Godzilla figure with actually articulated dorsal spines. Because these can actually swivel because they're on little ball joints. So these spines here are articulated and like to kind of just move around on their own, I noticed. And then a couple of these dorsal spines on the centers here can actually rotate forward and back. I think it's primarily just these 3 right here that can move. This one only moves a little bit. Can't really get to the back one, but that one seems like it's pretty stationary from the looks of it. So it's mainly these 3 are the ones that you can pose a little bit, which is really cool. And then for its mouth can open up and down. His head can look up about that far, downwards about that far, a little side to side. Not a crazy amount of rotation either, but nice forward and back motion. I kind of wish he could turn his head a little bit more, but it's nothing too bad. For his arms can go up about that far, down about that far, rotate all the way around. Have a nice little rotation on the side there. Has a decent bend at the elbow. If you pull out the plate here, you can get a little bit more of an articulated joint here at the elbow. His hands can bend back and forth, rotate all the way around. Then for his stomach, can bend downwards about that far, backwards about that far, decent side to side. And then you can actually lift this plate a little bit, so you can get a little bit better of a rotation for it going side to side. So you get a little more play there if you mess around with the plating a little bit. For his legs, I think can go all the way around if you mess around with it. Has a little bit of a wiggle side to side. Can go outwards about that far, inwards about that far. Has a really nice leg motion, although its feet like to pop up real easy. but his legs generally move like that. Each of these little dorsal spines are articulated, so these can pose however you want. And again, when you're kind of moving around, these like to shift, so just be a little bit worn. But the dorsal spines on the insides, oh, those are articulated too. Why don't these ones move? Oh, okay, they move. They're just really stiff on this side. All right, so all the little spines on the back of the legs can actually articulate. Learned something new today. And then for his feet, wherever the other one went, there we go. They are on a ball joint, so they got a little bit of wiggle and forward and back motion. And then for his tail, it has quite a few sections, so it can swing pretty decently. Can go upwards about that far and straighten up about that far. A little bit of rotation, but I won't mess around with that too much because of all the dorsal spines here. And then finally, I want to mention too is when you're articulating, just be a little bit careful, because with it being metallic silver paint, it is prone to scuffing, because I actually have one little scuff out of the package right there. Haven't noticed anything really else about it though, but just be a little bit careful when playing around with this guy not to scratch him up on surfaces. And for some quick comparisons, here we have Shiryu next to some SH Monsters figures with GMK Godzilla and Shin Godzilla. And here's with the Soul Shigoken Evangelion Unit-01 and the Revoltag Vector Cannon Jehute from Zone of the Enders. And here's some NECA action figures with the Hong Kong Brawl Gypsy Danger and the Godzilla 1984. And because we gotta be different than everybody else, and then I don't really want to go back upstairs and grab the Kiryu I just took up when I should have kept them down here for this review. So, sorry in advance. But here we have them with the Robot Spirit Sazabi and the Bandai Power Ranger Legacy combined Megazord, which you have to get all the Mighty Morphin Power Ranger figures in order to make this guy. And I have him with the Legacy Megazord Sword. So overall with Shiryu, I think they did a fantastic job on this figure. Detail wise, amazing. Paint job is solid. I like the accessories he comes with. Not really much to complain about, other than if he maybe had shoulder pads and had the NERV Godzilla symbol, would have been really cool to see on this guy. But outside of that, they did a awesome job on him. But is he worth the $160 price tag? I feel like that is going to be more based on your appreciation for both Godzilla and Evangelion. Like, if you love both, I wouldn't miss out on this figure then. Because he's definitely going to be a nice piece to go along with your Evangelions and Godzilla, especially Shin Godzilla, or even if you're a fan of the 98 Godzilla, this guy will work really well for you. But if you're only a fan of one or the other, then for the price tag, he's an easy pass. But what do you guys think? If you guys picked a Shiryu, what's your favorite Godzilla Evangelion crossover figure? Is Zonefire just my thing? Please let us know in the comments. Look closer pictures of this guy on our website. If you want to click the link in the description below. We also have exclusive prints on our Patreon. If you guys like to help support the channel, get a sweet print, also down in the description. And help us defeat those guys just by hitting that like button, subscribe, become a Ranger today, and see you guys in the next video. Bye-bye.